Hello and welcome to The Upcoming. I'm Samuel Nicholls and I have the pleasure today to be sitting down with Ramon Silvan Zu, whose new film, The Girl and the Spider, is currently playing as part of the Berlin International Film Festival. Ramon Silvan, how are you? Thank you so much for speaking to me.
You're welcome, very exciting.
Easy first question then. For those who might not have seen The Girl and the Spider yet or seen a trailer for it, what's the premise for the film? How would you pitch it to a stranger?
Actually, it's about a move. One character is moving from a share flat to a flat for her own. And that's like the plot, but it's about things that are behind this. It's like about other things in the essence, about, for instance, the desire of connecting with others and not to be isolated, but to form a unity with another being. So it's about these kind of desires, and but actually the plot is very minimalistic. It's about a move, one character moving from one place to another.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
Stylistically, the film takes a very, very surreal, very claustrophobic feeling at times. When you were making the film, when you were discussing making the film, did you have any stylistic inspirations? Were there certain TV shows or films that you saw that you thought, wow, that's a really great atmosphere. It would be great if we could make a film that evokes a similar sense.
I think that there, at that film, The Girl and the Spider, there weren't like very concrete examples or concrete shows or films. It was rather, as you said, an atmosphere or certain principles like the static camera and to be rather closer to the characters so that there's a certain claustrophobic feeling that you don't see everything. Sometimes you hear more than you see, and that you kind of lose the orientation in that chamber piece. And so I guess it's rather certain principles which then formed the aesthetic or the formal language of the film. But with maybe one thing which was from the beginning very essential was really the static camera.
Yeah.
Static camera and the characters, the actors being very moving. A kind of the mise en scène is that there is many movements of the actors and the static camera, that contrast kind of was the essential formal thought, I guess.
No, that's so interesting. And you're so right. I had the privilege of seeing the film last night. And what you're describing there about the static camera and the movement of the actors and of the scene is so accurate.
And interesting that, as Sylvan said, it's about a removal, a move. And so you think, there's from A to B, that there's a journey, there's a movement. And then when you show it with a static camera, that it gets a certain tension or, yes.
Yeah. I mean, you've both spoken previously in the past about how The Girl and the Spider is in some ways inspired by when you were living together and one of you had to move out. As writers then, how do you manage to, write about these films that draw from autobiographical aspects without making the films about yourself, if that makes sense? How was the writing process?
Actually, it was me. I started to write the first draft of the scenario, and it was just, even though there was, as a point of departure, this own experience of breaking up, like this unity, it was just like the feeling. Maybe that was a handy tool to be able to develop these characters and this story. But actually, it was never a danger to make a film about myself or ourself only. It was always clear that it's only the part of departure, the point of departure, and that then it's characters with which share elements with us. But actually, then after I've written this very first draft, then soon we started to co-write. So it was even on the writing level a collaboration, and at the very end, it was even Ramon himself who started to write the last draft, like on his own.
Mm. How did you find the process of collaboration then? Because obviously you're brothers, so you're used to working together and interacting. But I know a lot of filmmakers struggle with the idea of sharing creative control. Do you think because you know each other so well, it was easy to work together? Was it a good process, would you say?
Yeah, but it was. I guess it was a very important experience because The Strange Little Cat, our first film, that I wrote on my own, and Silvan's role was rather like a script doctor, the first person reading the script and giving his feedback. So he had kind of a distant view on the script, and here it was the experience of writing together, so that none of us had that distant view. Both were in the processes, and as we are twin brothers, and as our relation is symbiotic and rather a very huge proximity, so it was kind of important to find in that collaboration also separate spaces. And so we decided that as the film, there are 2 days, it plays on 2 days, that sometimes I wrote scenes from the first day. Oh, a child is screaming.
I was about to say, yeah.
My neighbor child cries. But sometimes I had the first day writing there, Silvan the second day, and then we met. But the consequence or what we learned is that it can quickly get a diffusion of responsibility, that he is a little bit the father of the baby, I am a little bit the father of the baby, but none of us is really the father of the baby. So it's better that maybe I write something and I'm really the father of that baby, Silvan of that baby. And that collaboration of being me, his script doctor, he, mine script doctor, that situation maybe is a little bit more efficient. Efficient. Is that an English word?
Yeah, yes, very well used.
Efficient, yeah.
Silvan, did you have, I mean, do you agree? Do you find that, how do you find this process? Was it the same for you, script doctor versus parent of the baby?
Yeah, it was also something I learned, that it's better to have clear fields of where to work and not to share these fields too much, because otherwise, as Ramon said, it's like a bit not too clear who's mostly responsible. Yeah. So I find that's something that for us is better to be clear about who works on what. And
Very well said. Ramon, you mentioned a second ago The Strange Little Cat, your 2013 film. You've spoken previously about how you feel The Strange Little Cat and The Girl and the Spider make up the beginnings of a trilogy of films that explore ideas of human togetherness and of family. First of all, what inspired you to focus on this theme of human togetherness and family? What made you want to create a trilogy of films about that theme?
Actually, it was not a conceptual thought at the beginning. It was rather like a coincidence or something which intuitively,
Yeah, very well done. Yeah,
intuitively happened.
intuitively. Yeah, yeah.
And it was because I wrote The Strange Little Cat, and then Sylvan, as he said, wrote the first draft of The Girl and the Spider, and me already wrote The Sparrow in the Chimney. And so in that period where there were those three projects, they kind of grew together or something, and the animals took a place, and those chamber piece like Wicklow. It's important, the mother characters in each film. And so we thought of making that trilogy with the animals in the title and about human togetherness, which is rather an abstract or very open thing, because almost every film is about human togetherness. But it's kind for us something to put those together, that it's like those three films, those are siblings, it's a family, it's formally, those are formal siblings. Also, inhaltlich means inhaltlich, the topic, content.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And it's kind of, we want to make that package, that family films, and then make experiments with other things, maybe a little bit more genre driven,
Yeah.
or maybe with another formal language, but those three films, it's like they belong together.
Yeah.
And which is the development. The first film, The Strange Little Cat, it's a static portrait of a mother, and it's very static. The second one here, it's about the removal. It's more movement. And the first film was The Cat, which was used to be wild, but now it's very domesticated. And the second one, The Spider, which is rather free, can everywhere make its own home with a web. And it's about transscience. And the third one is The Sparrow. It's like the empowerment of a mother, of a family. It's a family war film, but it's like more explosive.
Wow.
More, it's an explosion which makes that a utopia can happen. So it's like the journey from the static to the movement. And at the end, it's like, for me, like a utopia, which can be. And the sparrow is the bird, can fly free to break out of the prison.
How wonderful. Oh, wow. Sylvan, maybe for you then, I mean, when Strange Little Cat was released in 2013, it received a whole host of awards. I mean, it won the Special Jury Award at the IFF Minsk and the SIAD Film Critic Prize at the IFF Antalya. And of course, it was made 8 years ago in 2013. When production began on The Girl and the Spider, was it intimidating to have to follow up such a well-received film with this new property, especially after such a large gap? Was it something you were aware of during production, or something that weighed on your mind at all?
Actually, it wasn't too intimidating, because there were always things to deal with. So it wasn't like enough space to be anxious about, oh, hopefully it will be like as convincing as The Strange Little Cat. And also I think that that films can be differently. So yeah, actually we felt still free, even though it wasn't a it was artistically it was a success, but in cinemas, for instance, it wasn't like too successful. It was mostly on the festival circuit, but actually it was more like the question often if the girl and the spider, if formally, like what could be similar and what we want to experiment with, like newly.
Yeah.
So in a way it was like a reference point. We were talking, when talking about the girl and the spider, we often were like referring to the strange little cat, just to be clear about what's similar maybe and what we would to handle differently. So but it wasn't that we were like nervous because there was this artistical success in a way.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it must be very freeing.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier, Ramon, when about how you approach the film, or even the spirit of the film, is there's this big sense almost of isolation. And I think that's something people around the world have felt a lot over the last year for obvious reasons, because of lockdown and because of the pandemic. I'm not sure when the film was produced per se, but even during post-production, or perhaps now, you know, in retrospect, watching the film back, do you think it speaks to how people are feeling at the moment due to COVID? Do you think a lot of people are feeling a bit stuck, or that the society is in that state of transition that you were speaking about, how it was in one kind of position before and how it's in a different kind of state now?
Actually, we shot it in 2019.
So just before coronavirus.
Just before before COVID. And actually the end of the editing was also before COVID.
Oh, wow.
It was just post-production was during COVID. And so we wanted to, so actually it's just that color grading, sound, post-production, all those things were delayed. But actually the shoot was very free and we didn't have to test or wear masks or things like that. So it was really pre-COVID. And now when I've shown it, when we tested the DCP, somebody watched it and thought, oh, the parties, it was before they could dance and proximity and things like that. Yes, so actually it was thought and made really pre-COVID. But now with all those experiences, all with human, all of those things which they lived, for sure, the gaze of the viewers will be geprägt, marked by the corona, by the COVID.
Exactly.
So thank you very much, Samuel. Hopefully see you another time.
Yeah, thank you both so much. And please, everyone, go watch The Girl and the Spider. It's such an excellent film.